Alexander Slater, is there a realization, though, where you are in Washington, that Donald Trump is leading the world into a very dangerous path with sort of ultra-nationalism at one end, upending the multilateral trade order that existed, or a global trade order, with his unconventional use of tariffs as a weapon? Is there finally a recognition that eventually America will pay a price at some stage for what Donald Trump is doing? Is there finally that recognition coming in almost 6 months after he first sort of used in April tariffs as a weapon?
It's a difficult question to answer because the U.S. economy itself is in a strange state. Earlier in the year it looked like it wasn't growing at all, and then the second quarter growth was actually quite impressive. Parts of the U.S. economy are growing extremely well. Many people point to the AI boom as the main driver of growth in the United States, and there's evidence to suggest that is exactly what's happening. Other parts of the U.S. economy appear to be weaker. China's retaliation against the United States in this current trade spat involves not buying any soybeans from the United States. And so there's discussions here about a $10 billion bailout for U.S. soybean farmers. So parts of the U.S. economy are being hurt by these extended trade discussions. But other parts of the U.S. economy feel very good about it. I think certain domestic interests like steel producers, lumber producers, think that aluminum producers think that the tariffs that President Trump has imposed are wonderful because effectively it allows them to charge higher prices for their goods. So it's actually a pretty complex question to answer at this point in time. I do think personally, ultimately, the long-term interest of the United States involves a more open economy and good relationships with its allies around the world, including India. And I'm hopeful that we'll come to a resolution on that soon.
So let me come, Ashok Malik, to where, in a way, circle back to that key issue. Should India now stand up in some way to Donald Trump every time he makes these comments that seemingly embarrass India, give the opposition another talking point? Or should the focus be on quiet backroom negotiations? We've got the Commerce Ministry team even now in Washington as we speak, and get the trade deal done. Whatever else happens with the Russian oil deal, separate that from the trade deal.
To be honest, India has managed this with some dignity and with some effective diplomacy because it's Trump's rhetoric that has changed. Trump is still saying don't buy Russian oil, I agree. But his language today was collaborative, was conciliatory. It said that you can do it gradually in the next few, I presume, weeks. You can go back to Russia after the war is over. He didn't call India a dead economy. He wasn't abusive. Some weeks ago, he and his team had been frankly abusive and have, got people very riled up in India, and justifiably so. Today, he was more collaborative. So obviously, some diplomacy has happened in the background, for which India needs to get credit as well. And quite honestly, I have to disagree with Mr. Casey's thing. He's an old friend and a very seasoned diplomat. I think it required the government in India to engage an ambassador designate. These are extraordinary circumstances. Yes, it was a violation of diplomatic conventions to engage Goa, but diplomatic conventions exist to facilitate national interest. National interest doesn't exist to facilitate diplomatic conventions. And it wasn't the national interest to engage Goa.
That's it. Okay. A final word then, K.C. Singh, do you go along with Ashok Malik that we are seeing, despite what Trump said today about Russian oil, we are seeing a softening of America's stand, and that's good news. And that perhaps our national interest requires us to at times break with diplomatic conventions.
Well, then what was the need for the spokesman of the ministry to contradict it? If you think that things are changing and Trump is only sending positive signals, what was the need to say there was no discussion between the Prime Minister and the President? We are the ones who reacted to that.
Because it was embarrassing. Because it is embarrassing. It is embarrassing for a government that claims to have an independent foreign policy to be told by the US President that we've got an assurance from the Indian Prime Minister we will not buy Russian oil.
I'm answering Mr. Malik's thing that if we are seeing such positive reaction out of US, then what was the need to do it? We are doing it because Trump is unpredictable, because you don't know what happens tomorrow. You don't know what will be the final outcome. See, there are two parts to the trade deal. One is the Russian part, the 25%, and then there is the other 25%. The latest Economist magazine has done an article which says actually most of the tariffs that he's imposed, in reality, if you take the exceptions that he has made, it's working out to much less than 20-25% for each country, even for Canada or for Mexico. So it's a very confusing and very confused state of affairs. And in that, to get a trade deal, one of the gentlemen in your panel was saying that we can reform agriculture in India. You saw the farmers' agitation. It's not an easy thing to just reform agriculture in India. How do you do it? Bulk of the people in India are dependent on agriculture. How do you overnight reform it?
Okay.
It's just not possible to do it. You see the kind of agitation which took place over the farm laws.
Yes, William, you want to make a final point?
The final point, India really has to reform its agricultural sector. It is far too large for the growth trajectory that India is capable of. It has to shift labor and other resources out of agriculture into manufacturing and services, especially high-tech services. This is a chance to do so. Don't protect your farmers through tariffs if lower tariffs endanger their livelihoods, temporarily subsidize their incomes. India has to move into the second quarter of the 21st century. The agricultural sector should not be an obstacle to trade deals with the US.